Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to season 14, episode 14, overall 729 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. They're located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Automall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles, EVs they call them. They have a great selection of EVs there, and also Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call Barry Cullen Dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone is doing well on this hot, humid Tuesday, June 30th here in Southern Ontario. And I want to say thank you yesterday to everyone for all my birthday wishes on Facebook and all my social media platforms. I appreciate all the love and support. And turning 54 is no longer a big deal. So I want to say thank you, everyone, for your kindness. And I try to do the same thing for other people's birthdays too, to make it a big deal. And I had a really good day, productive day. And I also was at Argos practice today, and I got a couple more player interviews, which will be airing on Friday on the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself. I am excited to have our guest on tonight. This is her first appearance. We met through social media, and her name is Shergill, if I have her last name right. And she is a registered psychotherapist and a registered behavioral analyst in the GTA. And we're going to bring on Shergill right now.
Hey,
good evening.
Chris.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well, other than this heat. I'm not a big fan of 38 Celsius temperatures.
No, but happy birthday. That's great.
Thank you so much. It was a really good day, and it was productive, and being 54 is really not a big deal anymore.
Well, that's great to hear. Something to look forward to.
And I've been well fed the last couple of days, including I got a reunion party with some former coworkers on Saturday night, and my friend James had a lot of food, plus a swimming pool, which I didn't get to use, but hopefully soon. And I had cake. You always have to have cake for your birthday.
You have to have cake, yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about your birthdays?
I usually like to take the week off. I try to just have my own time. If I can go away somewhere, that'd be nice, but just to be able to spend time at home.
So how are things in the GTA area with you and everything going on?
It's pretty humid, pretty busy, but noticed a lot less traffic ever since school's been done. So I'm pretty happy right now.
I am based in Guelph, so I'm not far from the Toronto, the GTA area. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm a registered psychotherapist and a registered behavior analyst. Basically, there are two ways of how I can approach behavior and psychology. And a lot of my background comes from a lens of behavioral science and then brain injury. So a lot of neuroscience. And I kind of meld sort of the behavioral world and the psychological world together to help people make some changes.
Now, you've been a psychotherapist since 2015.
Yes.
Being in that industry, how much have you seen changes in the last decade?
So a lot has actually started in the last decade. So the change actually started in 2015 when psychotherapy itself became a controlled act. Before that time, anybody could practice psychotherapy and call themselves a therapist. There was nobody overseeing how people were approaching the science of psychology. So now you do have sort of different levels. Psychotherapists are at a master's level with supervised clinical hours. They have ongoing education. So there's a lot more added since 2015. So I feel that the regulation of practitioners has really gone up, which is really good oversight to ensure people are doing ethical practice and engaging. So I think the changes are really only within the last 10 years. Up until then, we really didn't exist before 2015 as a fully official title.
Sam, can you tell our audience a little bit about the process of being registered, certified?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually you would have an undergrad in some type of psychology field. So this could be behavior science, this could be behavior psychology. And then from there, you would apply for a master's program, which is typically 2 years. So your degree program is 4, you have a master's relatively of 2, and then you are free to practice with supervision. Once you're done that, you would write an exam, and if you pass that exam, you then can continue to practice as a registered healthcare professional.
Now, in your time, Sim, do you find there's more diversity as psychotherapists? Do you find there's more women, more diversity in the industry?
That's a great question. I do see that it's more of a field, like a healthcare field, geared more towards women practitioners. And I can say that more from client requests to either look for someone of the same gender or an alternate piece that they may want, whether it's cultural backgrounds or religious backgrounds. And so those are very important pieces because the care you're seeking from someone, you want to feel comfortable and relatable to some degree. So I think there's a lot more diversity now than when I started. I would say it was a highly homogenous sort of field. Every conference I would go to, it was dominantly women that were there or people who identified as women.
What are some stereotypes to this day about psychotherapists?
I think that we're either cold or we're always analyzing and judging. Um, I often get that from people if I just meet them. They're like, "Oh, are you analyzing me now?" And I think sometimes we're almost seen as like, "Oh, we're just here to listen." Where I will often say therapists aren't here to just listen. Our job is to really look at patterns and help you see certain patterns by also looking at different perspectives. So we do challenge certain maybe thoughts and feelings in a safe way. And so we're not just good listeners, there's a lot more that we're looking for when somebody freezes, when somebody stops talking, when they're using silence, their eyes, their mouth, the way they're using their hands. All of that tells us a story, and we can help the person see that story from a different lens.
Now, what's the major difference between psychotherapists and psychiatrists, or they're known as shrinks?
Yeah. So that's a term that gets applied primarily to the psychiatrists. So it's kind of like a three-tier system. So let's say you're going through a stressful period in your life and it's a transition period in your life or some type of event has happened, you're noticing some anxiety, and you just want somewhere to understand that. That's at a psychotherapist level. From there, let's say we're looking for maybe diagnosis, really trying to understand, we're in confusion and we don't know what's happening. Then we want a psychologist who can really diagnose and treat. A psychotherapist can only treat, but they cannot diagnose. And then a psychiatrist is kind of at a top tier. They can diagnose, they can treat, and they can provide medical support through medication. So a psychologist cannot prescribe medication, but a psychiatrist can, as far as I'm aware at this time.
Can you tell us a little bit about being a registered behavior analyst and what that entails?
Yeah, so as a behavior analyst, our main piece is to look at behavior through a very objective lens. So we sort of take any sort of emotions around it or thoughts and feelings about a behavior, and we just really look at how somebody acts in time and space, and then what that behavior does for them. So a quick example is if you don't like if you're driving and the sun is in your eyes, it's very natural for us to put on sunglasses. That's a behavior of putting on the sunglasses. And we only do that because something negative is in our mind or in our eyes. The light doesn't feel very good. But once we put on the glasses, we find relief. So relief is a big maintainer of our behavior. A lot of things we do, like avoid, if you don't want to go to a party because maybe you just don't feel comfortable and we say no, maybe a part of us wanted to go, but the bigger part felt anxious. So we say no, that's going to feel like relief. So people tend to do the things that they avoid over and over again from a behavior angle because it gets them something, even if it's short term. So as a behaviorist, we really look at how people make choices, how people live their lives, and then where they can actually make small changes to move their life in the quality and the direction that they want it to go in.
Well, before I did this career change 7 years ago, I used to play small and I would shrink myself in certain situations, and now I've reinvented myself.
Yeah. That
Do you
that
find
must have
do you
taken some stuff. Sorry.
yeah,
Sorry.
do you find people still a lot of people are still stuck in a situation where they play small and they kinda shrink themselves from the spotlight?
I do. I think part of that can be natural if we're not sure if we're going to be able to manage ourselves in that spotlight. We might avoid it and shrink because shrinking is actually protective. If we shrink and nobody can really see us or nobody can really hear us, then there's no attention on us and we're sort of safe on some level. That is true, but we're only safe for a very short period of time before it feels like we're kind of stuck in our own little prison. So when you take those steps out, it can be very empowering and it's just small little changes. It doesn't have to be a big change. It could just look like spending a little bit of extra time in the spaces that we're scared of just so we can get used to them. So kind of taking up space rather than shrinking. But I do see it a lot. And from a nervous system level, we call it the freeze or fawn flight response. So fawning is one. It looks like pleasing, which is also a little bit like shrinking. We become pleasers. We say yes when we don't want to, and that can be nervous system driven. We also have sort of a freeze response where we just sort of stop and we don't react and we don't engage. We might shut down, and we also have sort of that fight kind of response as well, or avoidance, run. Yeah.
You mentioned the word people pleasing. I've been like that for many years, and now that the older I get and being in media, I don't worry about that. You can't control how people think of you. All you can do is control the quality of your work and who you are. You can't control how people think or feel about you. So I try to just focus on myself and the work I do. And yeah, people pleasing. Do you find people pleasing has increased even more with the internet and social media?
Hmm. That's a great question. I don't know if it's people pleasing that's necessarily increased, because when I open up certain conversations, I'm often seeing maybe some great positive comments, but I'm also seeing a lot of negative kind of comments that come out. So I'm not sure how much of that, but what I do think I'm seeing instead of people pleasing, I would say is a need for connection. I do think whether people get that connection through an appropriate way, which is maybe polite or respectful or even assertive to some degree, or they do it in a negative way that can be hurtful and harmful. Either way gives us a connection, right? And so if I feel lonely and I write a bad comment, if I feel lonely and I write a good comment, both of them are going to make me feel like I connected to something else. So I do think I'm seeing a lot of bids for connection on social media, and sometimes people get that through just pleasing and being people pleasers, and sometimes people get that through being bullies online, and sometimes people get that through just kind of good community spaces like your show.
Do you find bullying and belittling others has increased with social media and the internet too?
I do think that belittling and bullying are patterns that persist because for the person who's engaging in that, it is working, like it gets them that connection. So I do think has become much easier to do this because you can hide, you can be anonymous, and you can see that as well on social media. A lot of the times, some people who might be leaving mean comments are not posting their own lives. They might have very quiet profiles. They might just have a little picture, but there's no actual ongoing posts. So they may actually find it engaging for them to do that type of bullying. It's the only connection they get in the world, perhaps hiding behind a screen. And so I do think that I am concerned how bullying can follow us everywhere now with online. When I was younger, you had school as a main space on the way to school or in your neighborhood. But once you were in your home, you felt relatively safe. But now it can go from bullying at school to bullying on the way home, but bullying online and in ways that you didn't really anticipate. So I do think that it's something we all need to look into more.
One thing about bullying, everybody thinks of the word bullying, oh, obviously elementary, high school, college kids, but adults are probably, in my opinion, from my perspective, bigger bulliers than children are, from my perspective.
That's a really important we doesn't really stop, right? We see it kinda carry it's bullying is now sort of what we categorize as a relationship problem. So kids when we can't relate to people different than us, we bully because it makes us feel somewhat better. It's that relief a little bit. And unfortunately, you're right, as adults, that can still carry on.
What are your thoughts on social skills and empathy and even listening skills is shrinking these days?
This is an area that's a little mixed. So, some research suggests that um, passive social media, so we're not actively thinking about what we're consuming, we're just doom scrolling essentially, that does sort of lead to this reduced confidence, skill development in face to face interactions. Something like answering the phone or going in and ordering something from a store can be highly anxiety inducing for some people if they're just used to more passive scrolling. Where we're seeing a little bit of a trade off is that for some kids, social media provides the safer outlets, or for adults, even it provides a bit of a safer outlet to try something like speaking up. So they can be quite empathetic to each other online in different forums and different communities, different pages. That can really help people open up a little, like Reddit, depending on what you're following on there. It can help people to sort of open up or get perspective that helps them with empathy. So there's kind of not a clear answer here. We're seeing that some kids are doing well on picking up things that they normally may not have access. Getting educated on certain topics. At the same time, there's a lot of what I would call therapy speak out there. So there's labels being used. Everybody's getting, saying that they have anxiety when it's not necessarily at the level that would be diagnosed. It might just be natural nervousness that we're misreading. So I feel like those social skills to even read our own bodies, but to read other people's behavior is um, a little variant across the board. Some kids are doing very well at it, and that's more active use. They're actively looking for information that helps them understand or to teach them something. But other kids may be just scrolling, or adults may just be scrolling, and then we don't realize that our brain is just comparing. And every time we compare, we lose, if it's in the negative sense, we lose self-esteem. It drops automatically. So even as adults, it's really important to see what are we following and how active are we by really choosing places where we can learn, right? So, same as your show, people can come on and learn about so many different topics. That's very active.
Sim, I wanted to get your thoughts. I know Australia's done this and now Canada's talking about it. Banning social media to kids 16 under 16. Do you feel that will actually work or do you feel there'll be ways around it?
I think there will be ways around. I'm not a fan of taking away without teaching something else. So if we're taking away, we might be taking away someone's only means at connection, especially people who live in rural areas. Using the social media might be how they connect with family members, how they may connect with a friend, or a cousin. So I think taking away something like that without replacing the opportunity for connection is not a great idea. But I do think having limits on it is important. So using them in public spaces, having limits built in with supervision. How are we actually teaching good, appropriate use rather than a no, not at all? Because kids are creative. They're going to find a way. So your kid may not have a phone, but their friend has a phone. they will find a way to create an account on that phone and use it that way. So we might as well show them how to use it safely rather than not use it at all. And that's where parents and families and ourselves, educators, have to get comfortable with saying, yes, you can use it. Here's how you need to use it. And the way, I'm going to be present while you use it is very important in young kids.
Now, you're a professor at Seneca College. How would you describe yourself as a professor and a teacher?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm a very anecdotal with my students. So I give them a lot of life experience. I give them a lot of stories telling because they need real examples to learn about something like brain injury or how behavior change happens in groups of people. And so being able to see my students, being able to have discussions is really fun. And even seeing them kind of teach back. So I like to kind of ask them questions. I put them on the spot. I use a lot of humor. I think I'm funny. I may not always be, but you know, I will use a lot of humor in my slides, a lot of relatable examples. I think that's what makes people want to come to class is if they can see themselves in the content they're learning. And then it's about really recognizing there's lived experience, which teaches us so much more. So there's only so much I know, and I have to have humility that I can teach so much in a classroom. Once they're out and they're working in the field and they're in their placement and they're learning, they're going to see it all kind of come together. That's my wish for them. So, so far it works.
How satisfying is it being a teacher or professor and being able to make a little bit of an impact on the younger people? I think we lost your audio here. Just bear with us, guys. Sim, my guest,
Is that better?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can
It
hear
may
you.
have just gone. May have just gone on auto. I think so. It turns off. I didn't know it did that. I never speak for this long. So it's deeply satisfying for me. I really find teaching as something that I don't have to work on.
Okay, just bear with us. We just lost the audio. Hopefully, we get Sim back. Just 1 second. Sim Shergill is a registered psychotherapist, just talking about how satisfying it is to help her students as a professor at Seneca College. Are you back? Okay, I think we lost. Okay. Now we got you back. Yeah, I can hear you. No worries.
Looks like the mic didn't want to work anymore, so we'll just have to
Technology.
bear with the audio change. Yeah.
And that's one thing with technology. A lot of the time it works great, but sometimes it doesn't. You just have to still go with the show still has to go on.
Yeah, you did great with that. Didn't miss a beat. Thank you for that. But as I was saying, I don't find it very much exhausting from a teaching standpoint. There's other things like marking and prep that does, but I really enjoy just being able to connect with students and see their interest grow. It's really rewarding for me. Something I will want to do full time and probably forever.
What was your experience like at the University of Toronto and the importance of education?
Yeah, so I went to U of T St. George. So that's the Toronto downtown campus. It was the first 2 years, I would say, were a little bit overwhelming because you weren't quite sure where your groups of friends were, what you really enjoyed, and what you were teaching. But I really found it to be a very welcoming space. I really met some of the best people I've ever known there and are still in touch with. And the teachers were really great overall, or the professors, I would say. There was a lot of, at that time, a lot of great, engaging lectures that we got to go to, but they were big. That's one thing I didn't like. So you were in a class of like maybe 1,500 students. So you're never going to get that one-on-one time. I really like polytechnics. So at Seneca, where the classroom sizes are smaller, you have maybe 45, 50 students, but everybody can kind of get to know each other. There's no way I was going to get to know 1,500 students in a classroom, right? So that felt a little overwhelming at the beginning. But overall, I would love to kind of go back. The place I loved the most was my master's. That was in Wales, in Bangor. And that was a really great experience. That's probably one of my favorite years of getting to know people all from different backgrounds and going to school in a new place and having to just figure it out. But it was a great experience. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So the universities I've gone to, knock on wood, I felt there was always a lots of opportunity for asking questions or being engaged, or even activities to do.
Currently, with your Seneca College, what's your average size of a classroom?
So maybe at Seneca, we are about 45 to 50, I would say, per classroom at this time. But
That's a lot.
that's not for every program. That might just be for my classes at this time.
Sim, when did you develop a bug or an interest in helping with people and getting into the psychotherapist industry? When did that come to you?
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite questions anyone asked me. So I grew up watching, I don't know if you know this film. Do you know the film Patch Adams by Robin Williams?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it, but I definitely know who Robin Williams is and Patch Adams.
Yes. So I watched this. I can't remember. It must have been, oh gosh, I don't know, 12 to maybe 15. And I had watched the movie, and it lit something in me about how we are treating people as numbers and we're not really connecting with people. And in that role, Robin Williams really tries to change how the doctors are interacting with their patients, and just by simply bringing the clients or the patient's own interests into it. So whether it's a tub of spaghetti, whether it was balloons, but really connecting with someone on a human to human level. And it showed me that that's a way we can make a big difference, is by making people laugh, by engaging with people, meeting them where they're at, using their experience as true information that needs to be respected. So that movie was his character, and Patch Adams was based on a real person. But the movie itself and the way Robin Williams made that character come to light was something that stayed with me. And from that point on, I knew I wanted to be in some type of helping profession through
Would you
talk.
like this? Would you like to see a sequel to that movie, or there are certain movies that shouldn't be a sequel or reboot?
I feel like that was Robin Williams' movie, so I don't think we could ever recreate a better one than that.
What
Yeah.
made Robin Williams, in your opinion, such a great actor, comedian?
I think his genuineness, right? His humility. In almost every role you played, you saw just a human being enjoying the work that he was doing, and bringing joy to others. But also, I really, no, I haven't fact checked this, but I really like how he treated other people on set and who he requested to be on set. Um, he was just an all around the definition of a good person. And you just see that in every role that he plays.
It's just sad that he took his own life. He entertained other people, made them laugh and smile, but he obviously he didn't look after himself that way.
Yeah, or I think, we'll never really know the answer to that. Maybe his family may have something more than we know. But I also, from what I've shared, like he's shared with others, and it seems almost like this was a decision he did almost kind of come to, right? Very thoughtfully. I mean, unfortunately, that does happen. Especially with what he was facing. So I think it's a very complicated position that only he knew what was the right answer for him at that time.
Sim, I wanted to ask you this question too. Who were some of your early influences and mentors when you were in school?
Yeah. So I would definitely say when I went to Wales, there were a couple of professors there that I really enjoyed hearing speak, and I could say that I really wanted to learn and be like. So these were professionals that introduced me to the therapy that I do practice quite a bit, which is called acceptance and commitment therapy, or contextual behavioral science. So they really showed how you can use a lot of talk therapy, but in a way that just helps people accept where they are in their life and still grow towards the life they want. And it's just the way they really engaged my mind, made me want to think, made me want to pursue. So I had one of them as my thesis my supervisor, and it was a nice kind of changing way to look at yourself as somebody capable. Prior to that, I had worked with a professor who was doing some research, and her demeanor was very critical, so I felt like I couldn't ever grow. But the people I've been most appreciative of are the people who are like, you can do this. If that's what you want to do, think about it maybe this way. And it was just a very nice push. Maybe that's why I really like teaching now, as I can kind of provide that to some of the students.
What are your thoughts right now of mental health overall, especially in Canada, during the pandemic, after the pandemic, and then without getting into politics, mental health programs being cut around the province and in the country?
I think all around, it's an area we need to do better and fight for as a community, right? So I think mental health education needs to start at a very young age, similar to how we might make kids do a math class. Just a life skills class that really focuses on mental health is needed, because I do feel people are hurting in one way or another, whether that's because of housing prices, bills, any of these areas that affect our quality of life. Mental health isn't just we have to have a diagnosable condition of a personality disorder or an anxiety disorder or some sort of other DSM diagnosis that's out there. The reality is the society that we're living in is also making us feel very mentally heavy. And the natural outcome of that is that we are going to feel quite a lot of sadness, which may be depression, but it's very much situationally created, contextually created. So I think having those mental health programs needs to be funded, not taken away, because people's mental health in general is going to fluctuate with where we are right now and everything going on in the world. But at the same time, we don't have enough safe spaces where people can get some answers and understand what that is. So I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see it be better funded. I'd like to see it start right from kindergarten all the way to grade 12 and then some. I think it's important for everyone in our space, especially as educators who are can be sensitive to these areas and help kids develop those skill sets. It's an area that we always kind of individualize, like you should just be able to handle things on your own, or you should just be able to figure it out. But the reality is a lot of our mental health is impacted by everything around us, systemic systems and social systems, our quality of life, the price at the grocery store. That does affect our mental health. And so that requires a group effort, that requires everyone being on the same page. So I think that's a very important piece, but it's a big uphill battle, I find at times.
What are some good tips for good mental health from your perspective?
My first one, and people may not like when I say this, but it's sleep. My first instinctual response to that is sleep is like the foundation. So if you build a home and you build that home, or you build a car and it has a rocky foundation to it, there's always going to be issues with that product. So our brain needs sleep as its foundation so it can do the things that we ask it to do all day long. When we lose even 1 hour of sleep, our brain's ability to even regulate our emotion already decreases. So it's very much harder to be able to actually manage our feelings on those days. So sleep is very important, not even just the amount of hours, but the quality of your sleep. Are we actually sleeping appropriately, and are we getting enough sleep with good quality in it? So sleep is one thing. And then the other piece is learn how your brain works, and then learn how we can work with it. I find a lot of the times we're working against our brain because we think it should know better, but it doesn't always know better. It does what it needs to do for survival. So when we teach it something and give ourselves permission to teach it, that might look like asking a question, that might look like a seminar, a YouTube educational session, but some sort of learning that allows you to understand that there are parts of our brain that fire off when we're in distress. And there are some really good behavioral ways we can calm that down. Or deep breathing. How do we do that to calm ourselves down? I think everybody should learn a little bit to work with their breath, because it can be very calming to our nervous system once we learn how to breathe from our diaphragm rather than from up here.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you too, Sim. I work a lot of weird hours, odd hours doing media work, and I don't always get proper sleep. And that's something I need to work on, is getting proper sleep, and probably taking the TV set out of my room, because sometimes I watch TV, I'm in bed, and then when you have the TV off, you can't sleep. Just like your phone, they say you should shut your phone off an hour before you go to bed.
Yes, yeah. So no screens in bed, no TV in bed, because that tells your brain there's activity here, so it won't fall asleep with good quality. But if there's no activity in your bed, you only use your bed for sleep, then that tells the brain this is a calming space and that we fall asleep here. So sometimes a very cool temperature room is important. We don't want to overheat. That wakes us up. So that's important. And then phones away from the bed. So that lowers our need to pick them up in that sense.
That's something I need to work on. So,
Yeah.
and that goes for a lot of people too. Hey, Sim, I wanted to get your thoughts on AI. Obviously, AI has changed a lot of things in industries, but it's also shrinking the workforces too. I just wanted to get your thoughts on the impacts of AI.
As a therapist?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have seen sort of the inappropriate use of it where people, are depending on AI to become their therapist. And that can be a very tricky situation because as useful as AI can be, AI does not have any wisdom. It just can't have that wisdom. Human beings have wisdom because we have lived experience and we can compare all of those lived experiences. So I find it when people start to use it for certain things, it can be very detrimental, can be very confusing, or it can be over affirming, meaning it tells us everything's okay when we really do need to be seeking expert professional supports. I think it's good for a learning tool. You want to learn about something and you want to ask it to pull research and brainstorm. It can be very helpful to be prepared for your visits, organize your thoughts. There's benefits. But it can't do the work of a therapist because it can't observe your behavior. It can't put the patterns together. It just won't have that wisdom. And that's a tricky aspect.
In your opinion, what makes a good therapist? And when somebody is looking for a psychotherapist or a behavioral analyst, what are some key signs for people to look for?
I think someone that you can feel you have some level of connection. So that means trust, non-judgment. That means rapport, someone that you see at the same level. In my practice, the way I practice is the client and I are on the same level. So I only have some knowledge, which is my behavior psychology, but I don't have their knowledge. I don't have their life experience. I don't have any of the narratives that they live with every day. They're going to exchange that with me. So in a safe space, I think you want to look for a psychotherapist that can have time and space to hear you, actively engage with you, and safely also teach and challenge what needs to be taught and challenged, and developed. So rather than just being heard, because I don't personally believe that's what psychotherapy is all for, is not just to be heard, but to also be shown how to make the changes in your life that get you to that level. You can ask your therapist about what kind of practices they use. You can ask what type of therapies they used, what their education was. These are all fair game questions to ask. And many therapists will offer a 10 to a 15-minute free meet and greet. I really recommend taking advantage of those because in that 15 minutes, you can share a little bit of what you're looking for. And you can also see if there's kind of a connection with that therapist. And it's zero commitment because they are 15 minutes free. And that sort of helps you screen who you would like to meet with and who you wouldn't.
Can you tell us a little bit about One Elephant and how you got involved with them?
Yeah, so One Elephant is a collaborative health integrative team. So my sister, actually, who's a chiropractor, along with two of her friends, one, Dr. Elaine Lewis, who is a naturopath, and Noreen, who's our registered dietitian, and then my sister, Dr. Shergill, is the chiropractor. They came together, they created a clinic that says we don't want people to fall through the gaps. We want many people to be able to give the lens on care and support people to navigate their health journey. So they were looking to add on to that team of psychotherapists. So as I got registered, it was a wonderful opportunity to be able to then work with their model. And I find it's a model I really believe in, that if too many people are looking at our health, but no one's talking to each other, then we fall through the gaps. We are the ones that are actually, as patients, suffering for that. But when you can go to a clinic where the practitioners will speak to each other, will consult with each other, and understand the recommendations, then you're in a safe space to be supported from many different angles. There's massage and there's physio in some of those areas.
Now, lately, I've been having headaches from my neck, and I think I might need to see a chiropractor.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I might end up having to contact you guys.
Absolutely. We would welcome you, of course, to come on in. We're located in Oakville. If it's not too much of a drive, but I would definitely recommend the team for any of those areas.
I think it's because I'm on my laptop and using my smartphone a lot, and I know when I cut back on it, they seem to go away. So that's something I would want to look at. And by the way, fun fact about me, I used to live in Oakville back in 1977 to 1981.
Oh, very fun fact. So you'll know the area well then.
Yes, I've been in Guelph now for the last 45 years, but I grew up in Oakville and stuff like that. Just off of Miller Road, the Nadia place. I think it was Nadia Place, which was off Miller Road, but Oakville has grown considerably since I
Yes.
was there last.
Yes, it has. Yeah. So I mean, it's a beautiful area. We're right by kind of upper middle and the 403, so it's easy access that way. But you're welcome anytime.
I definitely, because I actually a couple years ago when I had my ears cleaned out, the person who did it, she looked at my neck and said, "You got neck issues," and I said I kind of brushed her off, and I just find now lately I've been getting more pressure headaches from my neck, so maybe I need to look at a chiropractor and see if that can resolve it.
Yeah. I used to be a migraine sufferer, and they would want to give me medication. But the only thing I ever found was a good chiropractor who could really massage out this area and then release a lot of the tension. And after I was having migraines maybe every other weekend, and then it went to maybe once every 3-4 months. And now I rarely have a migraine. So it was a game changer for my headaches. And chiropractors, I think, can educate you or anyone on sort of how they can be of use for some of these everyday things that we just learn to live with. And we don't have to live with them. There's really great treatments out there from very experienced practitioners.
So One Elephant is at 905-844-3844. Your website is oneelephant.ca, and you're at 1911 Iron Oak Way, Unit 5 in Oakville.
That's correct. Yeah, you'll find a whole team there ready to support your health needs.
I think you might be seeing me there in a couple weeks to have somebody look at my neck.
There we go. Nice. Yeah.
Are you still good for time, Sim, for a little bit longer? A few more questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Have another maybe
Okay.
10 or so minutes if that's
Okay.
good.
Can you
Yeah.
just explain to our audience what brain injury rehabilitation involves?
Yes. So I've worked in brain injury for the past maybe 16 and a half years. And brain injury rehabilitation has a lot of areas in there. I specifically work on behavior. So how does someone navigate their life? Maybe there's anger, maybe there's sadness, trauma, all of that. And I help them learn how to and go back into kind of everyday life. We may support people going into the community, grocery shopping, just natural skills that may have been affected by the brain injury. Grief, maybe they had an identity that they're mourning that the brain injury has really impacted. There is a lot of identity disruption after brain injury. And so we can really support that journey. And we can also support learning from a family or a caregiver perspective of what might be helpful, how to understand the brain injury. So it can involve a lot. There's also other areas that are fields that are involved, like occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech and language. So we will often work with many different team members to support the person whose life drastically can change after a brain injury.
Are your sessions all virtual or are they in person?
So as a psychotherapist, my sessions are all virtual. And then as more for brain injury, it's all in person and primarily in person with virtual as needed.
On average, how long is a session?
In therapy, typically people will book for initial sessions for about 1 hour. Once they start to pick up some of the strategies and they're doing fairly well, a lot of the times my clients will move to 1 hour, maybe once a month, and then they may drop to just 30 minutes and do half-hour sessions. So typically you can book for 60 minutes or you can book for 30 minutes.
Now I'm going to play a little clip from your TikTok page, a little video content. Your content's great. How much of an impact has social media internet had on being a psychotherapist and a registered behavior analyst with your content?
I think it's been good. I was very much in my head about, do I really need to post anything? There's so much out there already. But when I think about sort of different areas I've practiced in, might just be a different perspective. And I just thought about the one person. So can I affect one person through the work that I do, what I post? And that's who I just continue to post for. It's just one person may resonate with this, one person may like this, and that one person is significant to me. So I don't really want to go and become the next, educator or content creator or influencer, but I just want to continue affecting one person at a time. So that gives me some motivation to keep posting, because I would post for a couple of days and then I wouldn't post for months. Then I would post, then I wouldn't post. So it was very inconsistent. But once I started thinking about it less from I have to do it the right way to I'm just going to have fun with it and just affect change in one person, that felt really good.
How we met was through TikTok, because I saw your content and I could relate to it.
There we go. That was one person. And look how that turned out pretty good, I think.
Absolutely, and I love how I can connect with my guests through TikTok and other social media platforms. And like we said before, social media is like alcohol. If you use it the right way, it's a good tool. Not that I'm encouraging drinking, but social media, if you use it the right way, is a good tool. If and for me finding a new career, and for other people too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm going to play a little. Where can people find you on social media again? Obviously on TikTok. And do you have a website you'd like to promote too?
Usually it's One Elephant that I will use for booking, but it's really my Instagram and my TikTok that I'm more on. So, and they're both labeled the same. So it's Sims, SIMS, psychotherapy. That's usually what my handle is. Yeah.
And I did put your email address down on the ticker too, if that was okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great.
All right. Well, we're going to play this clip right now, courtesy of your TikTok page. Let me know if you can hear the audio. If not, we'll fire the audio guy, which is me. I try to be funny. That's why I'm in radio media.
I don't think you have to try. You're good.
Thank you so much. And it's the guests like you that make a great show. And that's what I love about this. Just bear with me 1 second. We're going to play this clip right now from Sims Psychotherapy TikTok page. 1 second.
I'm not here to help you get rid of your anxiety. And if someone's promised you that, ask for a refund. Hi, I'm Sim, a behavior psychotherapist, which is just a fancy way to say that I help people stop fighting their nervous system long enough to just start living again. Here's a myth I really wish I could get rid of. Anxiety is not something you can get rid of. It is something that is physiological, which means it's wiring, not a character flaw, and you can't delete wiring. We used to know how to use anxiety. Something threatened our survival, and anxiety did its job. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. That kept us alive. The trouble is, the wiring in our brain never got the new updated information that danger has now changed. A bill, a deadline, a text left on read, a whole relationship, your job, all of this can trip the same alarm system in our brain that was built for a predator. So we don't get rid of anxiety, but we can bring it into balance. We learn to read it as information instead of a threat. Your anxiety isn't trying to ruin your life. I promise you that. It was just stuck in a world that it was never designed for. If this lands, stick around. I make the science make sense, and I promise I'll never tell you to just think positive. Alrighty, take care.
Thoughts on this video?
Thanks. That was one of my more just let it go, kind of go with what you really like to talk about. And anxiety and avoidance is probably one of my favorite things to talk about, because I think it's so misunderstood. So I'm very grateful that you did pick that clip, because I do try to educate that anxiety is something that's very natural for us to have. And if we learn to work with our brain, then we can learn to work with our anxiety systems rather than trying to avoid and run away from anxiety. And there's so many ways we can do that, and therapy is one place to learn to do so.
What are some good tips into shrinking anxiety or reducing it?
Not giving in. That's probably the biggest one, is to learn when anxiety is talking versus our core human values are talking. So if I really value social connection and human connection, but I avoid every opportunity because initially I feel a little bit less anxious, then I'm likely going to keep doing that behavior. But the minute I stop giving in to anxiety, which says run away, and I start to approach, maybe I approach one person, maybe then I approach two people, and I keep on going in the direction that I'm actually afraid of, then I can teach my brain that nothing needs to be fearful here. We just need to be curious instead about how is that interaction going to go for me. So I think that just a little change in saying I'm going to approach rather than avoid, and I'm going to approach in small steps, can start to reteach our nervous system that we are actually okay.
I find for me to reduce anxiety is walking. Go for a walk. I find 20-minute walk, 30-minute walk, 45-minute walk, whatever has been bothering me is stressing me out. It seems to shrink the more I walk.
I like that one too. I think walking, just movement in general, is going to help. So whether it's a dance for 30 minutes or 3 minutes, or you walk for 10 or you walk for 20, I think walking is just one of my hands down go to for as many, if we're able. And if not, it's to find another way to move.
Sim, any plans for your own podcast show in the future or a book?
There are plans for a book. I have been writing a couple of versions. One's a self-help poetry novel. I love poetry. So I am trying to build something that combines that and psychotherapy. And then just more on understanding behavior. But that one, it might be taking me a little bit longer than I want. Podcasts I've been asked to. I just haven't gotten there. I may have to pick your brain because you've done it so well.
Thank you so much. Hey, I've made my mistakes too. The only way you get better in any career is to learn from your mistakes. Nobody's perfect, and
This
that's
is
the only
true.
way you get better. It's learning experiences.
That's true. I always say FAIL stands for faithful attempt and learning. So it's okay to fail as long as we stay faithful to our learning journey.
It's funny. I really used to shrink in the spotlight, and now I've reinvented myself, and I'm very comfortable being on camera and being in front of people, and I love doing this. The storytelling aspect and learning from my guests every show that I do.
Yes. I think you do a really great job at it as well. You're always so attentive. You have great questions. And so I can see if you used to shrink yourself and now you're managing that spotlight with such leadership and confidence, the steps you took were great steps to get you here. Was there any one significant step?
I would say being in security. I worked in security for almost 24 years at a
Mhm.
racetrack casino. And at the end, I was ready. It was a work divorce on both sides. But a lot of the skills I got from media was from my other career in security. Because in security, you have to talk, you have to listen, you have to think on your feet, you have to show empathy, and you have to think on your feet. And a lot of those skills, I believe my former career helped me prepare for this.
That's great. I really like how you took that knowledge and then changed it into another field.
And I was ready to, like I had a good run at one company, but at the end, I wasn't growing, I wasn't learning, and I was just looking at my watch, punching it at 8 o'clock, leaving at 4, and being in this environment, I love it. I get to meet different people, different all walks of life, and learn and just continue to grow. You want to continue to grow and not shrink, other than my waistline.
I
That's
mean, you
my
got
next
me
battle.
there too.
That's my next battle. That's my
Oh,
next battle. And
oh,
a plug-in little event, I'm doing a run for pause, 40-yard run for the Cambridge Humane Society in a couple weeks, where I'm going to try to run 40 yards in less than 14 seconds and raise some money for the Cambridge District Humane Society.
oh, that's great.
So a little plug there. And as we wrap up the show, Sam, what's one fun fact about yourself or being a psychotherapist?
A fun fact of myself, I'm actually a very quirky person. I have a very loud laugh, and I'm also very much a homebody. So I don't mind having people over, but because sleep is so important to me, I will kick everybody out by 10 o'clock. So I go very quiet by then. That's a bit of a quirky thing I do.
Good to know because we still got 4 hours and 4 minutes left.
There we
Just
go.
kidding. Just kidding. I've never done a 5-hour podcast. 2
Oh my
hours, yes.
goodness.
2 hours. 2 hours is my record. 5 hours. I've never done a 5-hour podcast.
No, I think that
No.
might be quite long.
So, as we wrap the show up, it's I have a new segment called Ask the Host CDP a Question. Do you have a question to put me on the hot seat as we wrap this up?
I would say from being able to make that shift for yourself from going into media, what is one barrier that you think stops people from making that shift?
I think age. A lot of people that are my age do not want to switch. They don't want to start over in their 50s. And I've had people on my show that have switched careers older than me in their 60s and 70s, some cases in their 80s. And it's never too late. Age is just a number, and never judge someone based on age. Judge them on their character, their personality, and their quality of work. I just think this whole age thing, oh, you're 54 or you're too old, or somebody's 22, they're too young. That's not necessarily. Judge them on their work and their personality and their character and stuff. So I would say age.
Yeah, that's so significant. I really like how you said that.
And be yourself. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Have your own style. And that's what I do with my show. And I really do feel my other career in security really prepared, because I dealt with a lot of situations. I had to deal with people with mental health issues, people that lost all their money in a casino. And I had to really be able to relate. Empathy for your guests, and paying attention and listening. I'm going to tell you this, to me in media, listening skills is just as important, if not more, than talking.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you on that. It's such an important skill to really, truly listen. And so I will always kind of remember those pieces when I get in my own way when it comes to posting.
And finally, Sim, what's the best way for people to follow you on social media, your website, and the best way of contacting you again regarding your services at One Elephant?
So the best ways to follow for content would be at any of my Instagram or my TikTok at Sim Psychotherapy. Or if you are interested in any supports, you can go right to One Elephant website, or drop me an email at sim@oneelephant.ca.
And finally, what's next on your bucket list?
Ooh, it's probably to publish that self-help poetry novel.
When you do publish the book, please let me know, because I'd like to support your work.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I will let you know. Yeah.
And by the way, I would love to have a chiropractor come on my show as well. I've not interviewed one of them, and that's somebody I would like to talk to one day as well, as a chiropractor.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now you know where there might be one.
Yes, I will definitely keep you guys in mind, because I would like to get my neck looked at and get rid of these tension headaches from my neck. So
yeah, and I'm sure she'll be happy to jump on the show with you, or the both of us can do it as a table. So whatever you'd like, you just let us know.
And you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future if you like.
I'd love to. You just let me know when.
And if you ever do start up a podcast, please reach out to me, because I'd be glad to give you some information and pay it forward to you as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Sim, for coming on here. Continued success as a registered psychotherapist and a registered behavioral analyst. And hopefully we'll see you on social media. And give me a little bit of time tonight, because I have another show at 9:00 with a lady from the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. So every show is different with different guests.
Nice.
And give me a little bit of time tonight, and I will send you the video, the audio, and I will break this into reels and clips, because everyone's attention spans nowadays are diminishing.
Yes. Yeah. You tag me what you want and share what you feel comfortable with. I'm so looking forward to seeing how this turned out.
Well, thank you so much, Sim. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Have a great one.
Thanks. You too.
Take care. Bye.
All right, everyone. That concludes season 14, episode 14, overall 729 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at barrycullen.com. I want to say thank you to my guest today, Sim Shergill. Sim Shergill. She's a registered psychotherapist and registered behavioral analyst out of the GTA, and she's at One Elephant 905-844-3844. Their website is oneelephant.ca, and One Elephant is located at 1911 Iron Oak Way, Unit 5 in Oakville. And again, their website is oneelephant.ca. So thank you so much for Sim Shergill for coming on here as well. And guys, I have another show tonight. The Small Talk Podcast, Season 4, Episode 6 will be tonight, Tuesday, June 30th, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 on the West Coast, with Marlene Sharp and myself, with her special guest, Grace Saint. She is the manager of the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada, which is located in Puslinch, about 15 minutes from Guelph. So if you've always wanted to learn a little bit about donkeys and mules, and they can live to 40 years of age, please check out the Small Talk Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight on Tuesday, June 30th, with Grace Saint, the manager of the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada, along with Marlene Sharp and myself. And the next Argo Bounce podcast show is going to be on Friday, July 3rd. Friday, July 3rd at 7 p.m. Friday, July 3rd at 7 p.m. Nick Small and myself, we're going to talk Argos and Calgary Stampeders, and we're going to air some interviews that I did today at Argos practice at the University of Guelph with Jeremiah Ojo, and Tyler Common, wide receiver Tyler Common as well. And that is about it, guys. I will make more announcements on social media for when my next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk show. So please make sure you check out the Small Talk Podcast tonight, Tuesday, June 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern, with Marlene Sharp and myself, and special guest Grace Saint from the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada. And again, the Argo Bounce Podcast show, Friday, July 3rd at 7 p.m. with Nick Small and myself. And as we wrap up this show, guys, again, thank you to my guest, Sim Shergill, for coming on here. And also, by the way, as speaking of our sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet, right now there's an EV check for change. Help support your local children's hospital with an EV health check for change package. For each package purchase, $10 will be directly donated directly to your children's hospital. More details at barrycullen.com or drop by their location at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall, or you can call them at 519-824-0210. So if you have an electric vehicle, consider getting a health package from Barry Cullen Chevrolet, and $10 of that health package will be donated to your local children's hospital. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership does a lot of volunteer work and community involvement here in the city of Guelph. And Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been a proud sponsor, advertiser of this show for the last 3.5 years. So again, if you're looking for a new or pre-owned GM vehicle, EV vehicle, or a Cadillac vehicle, there's no better place than Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, known as the regional dealership here in Guelph, and great customer service there as well. Go see Nathan in sales, and shout out to Paul Cullen, the GM, and the president, Mark Cullen, as well. So Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership, to me, is the number one car dealership in Guelph. So if you're looking for a new or a pre-owned vehicle, check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership in the Guelph Auto Mall, and tell them that Chris Palme sent you as well. And that is about it, guys, for today's show. Again, thank you so much to Sim Shergill, a registered psychotherapist and registered behavioral analyst in the GTA, for coming out. And you can check her out on her social media platforms. And also, she's at oneelephant.ca. The website, oneelephant.ca, or you can call them at 905-844-3844. And again, 1911 Iron Oak Way, Unit 5 in Oakville. And by the way, before we wrap up this show, again, thank you everyone for your birthday wishes. I had a great 54th birthday, and I want to wish everyone in Canada a happy Canada Day, July 1st. Wednesday, July 1st is Happy Canada Day. And speaking of Canada Day, a fun fact about Canada Day, our country was founded on July 1st, 1867, but not until 1982, the day was known as Dominion Day. So in the year 1982, it became Canada Day, but for for many decades and centuries, it was known as Dominion Day. So Canada Day originally was called Dominion Day, and it's been Canada Day since 1982. And our country was founded and established in July 1st, 1867, long before CDP. So everyone in Canada watching this show or listening to it, happy Canada Day, and please drink responsibly and have a great Canada Day. And I'm looking forward to July 1st, Canada Day already. I can't believe it. And that is about it, guys. I will make an announcement this week on my social media platform for the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. And if you have a business and a company and you would want to come aboard this show, please email me at cpame19@gmail.com, or you can DM me on my social media platforms as well. And I'm doing the Run for Pause 40-yard dash in July in the next couple of weeks in support of the Cambridge District Humane Society. So if you're able to donate a minimum $5 or whatever, I'm going to try to run the 40-yard dash in less than 14 seconds as well. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, please check out the Cambridge District Humane Society, located at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or you can check out their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the pets and animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And that is about it, guys. Again, thank you to Shergill for coming on. And I want to say thank you, everyone, for watching this show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Instagram. And thank you to everyone listening on my audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. And I wanted to make an announcement today. I just reached 13,000 listeners on Spotify. So I want to say thank you to everyone for listening to this show on Spotify. Over 13,000 listens. And also on my YouTube channel, I'm approaching 900 subscribers and 800,000 viewers. So thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, hosted by Chris Pame and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. And that is about it, guys. We'll see you back here tonight at 9 p.m. for the next edition of the Small Talk Podcast, a monthly entertainment talk show hosted by Marlene Sharp and myself. And tonight's guest, Grace Saint from the Donkey Sanctuary of Canada, which is located in Puss Lunch, will be on the air at 9 o'clock. So we'll see you in a few hours. Thank you for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in the Guelph Auto Mall.